Okay, good morning, everyone. I'll start with a short clip.
There's no denying it. If we don't do something quite soon, marketing-wise, our leadership position will be going down the drain faster than we can look. Don't you think you're overreacting a bit, my dear colleague? Our branding is still absolutely dazzling. My point is that without a decent print or TV campaign, we will be sitting ducks for...
are out of the discussion from now on. We are not living in the dark ages anymore. Brand new marketing instruments have emerged, which is also the reason for summoning this meeting. I want to discuss this topic today.
Now, with all due respect, but what are the options besides print or TV?
My honored colleagues, from now on we will be pushing the envelope in terms of advertising. Viral marketing is the big magic word. A brand new field.
Viral marketing? What else is new? I think I'm about to wet my pants. That's nothing special anymore. Every little mechanic is using it for advertising nowadays.
The difference is that we have more dough than the little mechanic.
Spending any budget on such mumbo-jumbo is like throwing money out of the window. It eludes me how you can ever fall for BS like this you will never trigger a single purchase decision with. Now, I would rather spare the money.
And I would spare myself this brass-headed bragging of yours if I was you. Viral marketing is an absolutely powerful advertising instrument you know nothing about.
Now here we go again. Behold, here comes Mr. Vader. It's amazing to see how you still think your little black advertiser suit is something to write home about. The only thing missing now is a black turtleneck sweater and
Would you mind saying that again, please?
That's enough. Leave the man alone, Mr. Vader.
If you say so.
You pathetic bonehead. I'm utterly sick and tired of this. I refuse to listen to this bunch of morons anymore, and therefore I'm making an executive decision. As of today, our complete advertising budget goes into viral marketing.
I showed you this clip because of two reasons. First reason is to get you used to my special accent. And the second reason is that this clip that you've just seen went viral, at least in Germany, because the original version, as you can imagine, is in German. And to give you a little background, this was made by only one person who did all the voices in the clip, also the English version. So this is a viral approach that was very successful. We put it up on YouTube. You see the German version's got 4 million views almost. And basically this is what I want to talk about today. Viral marketing, how is it possible to stimulate the diffusion of ideas and word of mouth by exploring social networks. As in the comments on YouTube, there is this, somebody wrote, "Well done, I wish it would be easy to produce a viral clip. If you are supposed to come up with an idea yourself, you are completely at a loss." I don't know whether one of you has already tried out. Maybe you have. First of all, are you familiar with the term viral marketing? I thought so. In Germany, I think in the US, it belongs to popular culture already. The term viral and viral marketing. In Germany, when I talk to new clients, they sometimes say, "Ooh, what is that, viral marketing? I've never heard of that." So there's quite a difference between the US and Europe in that sense. But basically, what you read here, this is my main task. I always have to think of new ideas that hopefully become viral. Sometimes I have to be dressed a bit funny. I will talk about this later, why I have to do this. VM People, that's the name of my company. And as you can imagine, VM, these are the initials of viral marketing. What I found interesting when I picked the term is to use nature as a model to spread word of mouth advertising messages. And this is what viral marketing is all about. Systematically planning and stimulating word of mouth. When I talk to clients, somebody shrug their shoulders and say, well, what is the new thing about word of mouth? Word of mouth is a very old thing. Ever since Adam and Eve had somebody to talk to. And to my mind, there are a lot of things happen in the last decade, in the last 15 or 20 years, that are responsible that the word of mouth is a completely different thing. But still, planning this for companies is like the hunt for the Holy Grail. They have absolutely no idea how to do it. Some say, well, it's serendipity or sheer luck if it happens. But some people, like me, came up with the idea, okay, you can do something about this. You don't have to wait to happen this on its own. And to give you a first idea how we do this, I show you a second clip. This is a little promotional clip we use on our website. How can one become a Grail hunter of marketing? A little some biographic notions on this. I started as a copywriter back in the 90s, and this was like my dream job when I was at school. But after 2 or 3 years, I found out, oh, it's not that cool, and I decided to go to the university. And I studied communication in social and economic context at the University of Arts in Berlin. And then at the end of the 1990s, the internet became more and more important, and I stumbled across the term viral marketing. I found that very interesting, but at that time, it was nothing more than a buzzword. It was a term that people used to describe what was happening online, with services like Napster or Hotmail, or another big viral story was the Blair Witch Project, which you probably know. I maybe I did the first final thesis in Europe on that topic. I was researching all those epidemic spreads. And actually, I thought that's it with viral communications, but I found out that a lot of companies, I put a website online while I was writing on that thesis, and I got approached by companies who were asking, are you only talking about this, or can you help us in getting viral? So I decided, well, maybe could try it with a company, and one of these guys was on the left. He is my partner. He was running one of the biggest electricity companies in Germany, and he's my co-founder. It was 2004, and that was the time when there was a scene developing, also in the U.S., when people used this term not only to describe viral spreads and proliferation. They tried to intentionally conduct campaigns, and they all got infected by this book, The Tipping Point. Who of you knows the Tipping Point? Has read it maybe? Okay, I will get back to it later. But the funny thing was, for those of you who read the book, Malcolm Gladwell describes this phenomena, and in the end he says, well, you can use my theory to create these campaigns, but he doesn't really tell how. So it was a bit like with Pierre de Fermat for me, who said, I have discovered a truly marvelous proof of this, which this margin is too narrow to contain. We all sat there, okay, how can we do it now? And then, well, there were some severe problems to solve, like how to approach the right people to start this, the advocates, the viral spread. And that was the point where I came across the social network analysis and and got in touch with guys like Jürgen Pfeffer, who was in that business, and we began to talk, and he helped me a lot. This is Jana Diesner, by the way. They helped me a lot to develop an understanding how to get a step further in this. So that is not only a buzzword, viral marketing, that is got a more substantial elements. Just to show you a list of clients for which we have worked in the past and still work, a lot of publishing houses. I will show you some recent works that we have done later. But first of all, I'd like to conduct a little experiment with you. Please raise your hands. Who of you is active in social media, like blog or Facebook page or a Twitter account? Only you two? You're not? Okay, please stay. Who of you has shared content in the last 2 weeks? Please still, in a way like recommended, did a blog post, linked something, okay? Okay, who of you has shared content about the Coney campaign? Okay. But I guess all of you heard about the Coney campaign, is that right? Or is anybody in the room who hasn't heard of it? You maybe? It's not a bad thing to say no, but it turned out that this has been the most viral campaign ever. This is already claimed to be the most viral campaign. It appeared that you didn't hear too much about it. So please, could you tell what was going on the last 2 weeks?
Well, so the Invisible Children.
Yeah.
I expressed, if you guys have heard of Invisible Children, it's something on Reddit. It's got a lot of coverage there. But okay. So Invisible Children, right, is a standard fundraising cause organization to try to fight various issues in Africa. Joseph Kony is the head of or former head possibly now of the Lord's Resistance Army, which is basically a big army of child soldiers, which he goes around picking up and then goes out and killing people in Sudan / Uganda and other areas. It's quite terrible. So Invisible Children made a very successful viral video, which they actually, seems that they got a lot of pickup for it by going to high schools first. And so they hit a lot of, basically a lot of high schools at very small levels. Those high school students then shared links out. There's a very nice paper by Dana Boyd, or not a paper yet, but there's a review by Dana Boyd and some other researchers in the area where they sort of have a nice little plot where they give you like, here's Twitter shares for it. Look, here's the Pittsburgh cluster. Here's the Cleveland cluster. It's all like
Yes, who started here?
And it basically, caught on in a very big way.
Yeah, there's a lot of analysis already going on, not all in terms of the social network analysis. Also, the content is being analyzed and heavy from the storytelling point of view. For those of you who have seen the video, it's a classical it contains the classic elements of a good story, the bad guy and the good guy, and the mission we all have to complete. But beside that, as you said, there are also some interesting network aspects. It occurred that the network where the clip was seeded, as we say in viral marketing, had already been established in the past, because the campaign actually is running for a longer time. The clip was not the first chapter of the campaign, so all they had to do when the clip was produced is to send the clip to their existing social networks. And one very clever approach, as I thought, I don't know whether you could do this again, is on the campaign side. They had these people from different areas, from the culture and from policy area, which you could address via Twitter. You could hit, for example, Mark Zuckerberg's picture, and then you got connected with the Twitter account, and you could send him a tweet with the Coney link. Watch this, and so people, the celebrities got forced to spread the word as well, and they are of course very important influentials or advocates, as we said in our promotional clip, with a big follower community. So the message really spread very, very fast. You all know from your own experience how important word of mouth is. For example, if you intend to buy something very expensive like a flat screen or whatever, you usually listen to what your peers say or make a research on the internet. There are some researches that show that especially for younger people, it is very important to listen to their peers, more important than listen to classic forms of communication. Now let's get back again to the aspect of word of mouth and why it is so important, more important than like 30 or 40 years before. Because word of mouth can have different forms. The Web 2.0 media have expanded the ways word of mouth can be organized. Word of mouth can be a picture that is being uploaded at Flickr, or a clip at YouTube. It's not only the spoken word anymore. It becomes more and more important for companies to get in control of this proliferation, and that's why there's such a big significant difference. And as I said, stories is, let's say, the fuel for word of mouth. You always need a good story that people can share, can talk about. Some reasons why the game for marketing advertising has changed. Of course, the interconnectivity and mobility, the opportunity for individuals to do social networking, to publish their own life and their own lifestyle, and the aspect of real-time communication that basically really changed the game in terms of, if you consider how companies especially communicated in earlier times. And that leads to some interesting developments, not only in the economic arena. Jürgen Pfeffer did extensive research on what happened during the Arab Spring. And this was supposed to be, in parts, a social media revolution. Maybe it's a bit over-exaggerated to put it like this, but social media played an important role in the developments there. And you could detect the social change a bit earlier while reading the social media, while watching the social media channels compared to the classical media. This is one basic outcome. I guess you already talked about this here. Is that right? Okay. I myself, right now I'm researching another phenomenon compared to smart mobs, or like in Germany, it's interesting. We have a special term that we borrowed from the English language to describe what happens to companies if they face criticism. We call that shitstorm. I guess you don't call it like in the US like this, no? In Germany, it's so popular, this word. It became the Anglicism of the year. You can't read a paper in these days without that there's an article about shitstorms, that shows that there's a lot of interest on one hand. On the other hand, that there's something happening. Politicians and companies can't deal with the speed of opinions that they have to face every day. And every day somewhere a thunderstorm happens, and there's also already a community that that is propagating the shitstorms, and that is very interesting. And right now I'm trying to figure out what does that mean, and where does it come from? What can you do as somebody who is is responsible for a company? How can you face this? How can you act when a shitstorm arrives? Some remarks on the paradigm shift in the perception of customers. The classical advertising model looked like this. On top you see the company, Unternehmen, it's German, sorry for that. And you communicated to an anonymous amorphous mass. You didn't know who you were talking to. That's just some socio-demographic data, but you couldn't really see clear who you were talking to. The next paradigm was the perspective of direct marketing. There at least you had a customer that had a name you could talk to. And it was, from the communication model, it was a one-to-one communication. The classic advertising was a one-to-many communication. And now, talking about viral marketing, the perspective is a network perspective. You still talk in the first place to a few people on a one-to-one level, but basically you intend to stimulate a many-to-many communication. And this is where science comes into play. With viral marketing, we do not talk of target groups anymore. If a client shows up and tells me my target group is this and that, I say, sorry, that doesn't help. It's interesting, but we have to somehow figure out in which networks your target group is organized. And we have to find out who are the key players and how we can identify them. Okay, this is now the lessons we learned from epidemiology. We all know these fads that spread from time to time. This fad is a little old already. the planking or flat or the lying down game. This is what Malcolm Gladwell researches in the tipping point. And for those of you who read the book, one of his popular examples were the hush puppies, shoes that in the 90s weren't very fashionable. Only a few were sold, and they were already, the company who produced them already thought of putting them out of sale. But then all of a sudden sales exploded, and they had no idea why, because they didn't spend any advertising budget. But nevertheless, there was a hush puppy craze all of a sudden. And they reached what Malcolm Gladwell calls the so-called tipping point, when a local phenomenon suddenly reaches critical mass, and he detects 3 parameters which play an important, a critical role if something reaches the tipping point: the stickiness factor, the contagiousness of an idea, a product, or a message, the law of the few. He describes 3 prototypes: connectors, mavens, and salesmen, who are able to kickstart a proliferation. Connectors, as you can imagine, are well-connected, socially connected persons. Mavens are experts in a certain field who collect a lot of information. And salesmen are people who really are able to sell you everything. And these 3 guys are always interesting to reach if you start a proliferation. And the power of context, these are environmental factors like time and space. And Gladwell argues if you change only little things in regard to these 3 factors, it's possible to start an epidemic. I show you an example, a campaign that we did to describe these 3 parameters. And I start with a little, imagine you are at home. In the evening, it's already dark, and somebody rings at your door, and it's a man from the pizza delivery service, and he's got a pizza for you. And you say, "Oh, sorry, but I didn't order one." And the guy says, "I know, but nevertheless, it's for you. You don't have to pay anything." And because you're hungry and in a way interested, you take the pizza, look inside, and actually it is a pizza, it's warm, looks good, but there's also a USB stick. Not on the pizza as it is on the photo. It's from the television screen. But there is a USB stick, and you are interested because you are curious in a way what's on. You check it in the virus detector, but it seems to be okay. And on the USB stick, there is a file, a video file, and I show you what the file showed. Well, maybe a bit disturbing, but that was the intention. Maybe I don't know whether you've recognized it, but there were some frames that showed words. And if you arrange these words in the right order, you get to an URL, push11.com. And some of the people who received the pizza really got curious, went online and Googled the words, and they also looked in the browser, push11.com, and they found a website where they saw the elevator you saw in the clip. And each day the elevator was going down one floor, one level, 11 days in a row, like a countdown. And a lot of people started discussing what was happening. There were a lot of blog posts from people who received the pizza. Others joined the story, the communication. A lot of speculation was going on. And after 11 days, when the elevator doors opened after the countdown, people detected a website with like a diary written by a boy that seemed to be in the hospital suffering from cancer, and he was telling a story of his life, and so people started to address this young man who was in the hospital, and it was like a communication, and people found out, the young boy told the community that he suffers from cancer, as I said, and that he thinks that in his former life he was a serial killer, because somebody took him to a doctor where he experienced reincarnation therapy, and while going back in his former life, he saw that he is a serial killer, and this is what he was telling. So, which really strange story, but as you can imagine, this is a part of a larger story, of a novel, of a crime novel, and what we did here is a promotion in form of an alternate reality game. Have you heard of the term alternate reality game before? Who of you did it? Everyone? Okay. It's like a story that is being produced over multiple platforms, like a blog, social media, and real life events. We have one here. In the end after 3 weeks, at the end of this story, people tried to meet this little boy on a very, very dark place in Berlin on a lake, and also they tried to verhindern, was heißt denn verhindern? Avoid a murder. So they all gathered, like 50 people in the wood, but there was a strange turn in the story. They all got kidnapped by really serious guys, and were put in a car. The eyes were blank, and then they 1 hour later they woke up in the elevator they knew from the clip, and drove down 11 floors, where the author awaited them and thanked them for their participation in the whole story. This was an interesting story for us, an interesting campaign, because it was the first alternate reality game a couple of years ago, 5 years ago. And it was also one of the first alternate reality games in Germany. Media picked up the story extensively, television, newspapers, and as I said, it was a promotion for a novel. This is supposed to be results, and we reached enormous buzz among crime novel fans. And the interesting thing was, we only addressed 11 in the first step. 11 people received the pizza, and from then on there were no other seeding activities. We started with 11 and then reached like 2 million people with the campaign. So it was for me a proof of concept how marketing can work. And in the end, the 35,000 copies were being sold without any additional advertising.
From a guy who never published a book before.
Yeah. And now, interesting side fact is that this novel is being a movie is being made with an American cast. Eric Roberts is playing the main character of the movie, so it became really successful. And getting back to the factors, the parameters, the virus, the infectors, and the soil. Of course, the virus here was the mystery story about the serial killer boy that people liked to talk about, like the people liked to share, that they figured out what is behind this mystery. And the infectors, as I said, only 11 well-connected people. We chose the 11 people really carefully. We did not make a social network analysis. We didn't collect a lot of data, but we had a close look at the blogosphere. There in Germany, a lot of people like to set up blogs and put their criticism online about books. And that's why a network has formed with book and literature bloggers. And so we evaluated who is interested in crime novels, who likes to share information, who wants to discuss, who is interested maybe in exciting ways of advertising. So we chose 11 people, and then from there it started. And of course, the context here was the pizza. We could have shown this clip in the cinema. We could have shown it on YouTube, but it went viral because we chose a very different context, a pizza delivery. There were also two interesting findings in the end, which I heavily analyzed with Jürgen. We shared these findings at the Sunbelt conference. The first was the importance of local clusters. Because of budget restrictions, we had to focus on a special territory in Germany, on Berlin, where the story is happening in the book. But we didn't have any money to send like 200 pizza delivery men to all over Germany, and so it was like we were being forced only to choose 11. In the end, this was very successful because we totally focused on Berlin, and from there the message spread in other clusters with help of classical media as well. But this was the first important finding, and the second important finding was the importance of influentials, because we seeded the clip not only, as I just said, with this pizza delivery, we seeded it also by serendipity. We chose USB sticks and, for example, seeded them in elevators in real life, or when we were at the movies, we took the USB stick and put it in people's jackets without that they didn't recognize it. Okay, this was the experiment phase. Nowadays we don't do this anymore. But the interesting thing was only the USB stick showed up, which we really aimed at people directly, the influentials. They were open for this, and they were able to spread the message based on their reputation, and so this was another important finding. If you ask me what is in general the aim of viral marketing, word of mouth, as I said, but the creation of fan communities. Like, for example, for the author, Sebastian Fitzek. As Jürgen Pfeffer said, it was one of his first novels, and he was not very well known. But by this viral marketing approach, especially alternate reality games, which are really, really engaging and entertaining for people. It is such a unique experience that people like to stay in touch among themselves and also to stay in touch with the author, who was part of the whole development. So, and this in general is one of, in the end, our game to create fan communities. And ever since Facebook has become a really big thing, fandom is in every company's mindset. We have to our fan base has to be huge. We have to gather a lot of fans on Facebook, and it seems to be like a new currency.
So did people know that they were playing an alternate reality game, or did some people actually think there was a case?
Talking about this specific case, there was, as I said, it's 5 or 6 years ago, there was like a irritation. Is it real or is it not real? Because it was the first time in Germany, and part of the enthusiasm derived from the fact that people always ask themselves, oh, is that real? Because it's a new medium. It happens always if there's a new medium in the world, like the cinema. There are stories from back then when people the first time saw a movie, and they were really frightened because a train was on the on the screen, and they cried and tried to run away. And it was the same effect with the alternate reality games. The first time you experience this, and people think, oh, and at that time they were not so media literate with alternate reality games. That changed, because in the last years we did a lot of alternate reality games. People know now it's not the reality, but they pretend it is the reality, and they do not fear anymore.
The funny thing is, I guess, even if the pro player nowadays play alternate reality games, it's kind of rule not to discuss the game itself, but just to play. So not to discuss what is fake.
Yeah, there is a mantra that is in the world from the very first alternate reality game on, that was Beast in 2001, the alternate reality game for artificial intelligence. The mantra is, this is not a game. So if you play an alternate reality game, you don't behave as if this would be a game. And as a gamer and as a puppet master, also people like me who organize the alternate reality games, you're always you have to consider that you don't put away the curtain. You have always to stay behind the curtain. It's not like if you have experience with real life role playing, for example, there are the organizers walk around, but in alternate reality game, the producers are always behind the curtain. You don't see them, never, because you do not want to spoil the game experience by showing up in a way and say, hi, I'm the producer, this is the microphone.
But this is a negotiated thing. I mean, this is not, people who participate in arts want to participate in art. You're not trying to really bring in people who are going to be totally confused and think that they're actually saving a child. You're trying to bring in, you want people to actually enjoy the experience.
Exactly, yes.
So
it happens sometimes that people got to know of the story and they are not very literate in this, and it always causes troubles in the community because they don't know how to behave in the forum or whatever, and then the old players have to do a lot of teaching that the new guys get involved in a way. But for me, I have a contract with somebody who is paying for the alternate reality game. My problem is that I I can't play with only 15 people or 50 people. I have to reach an audience. The bigger, the better. This is always difficult. To have to reach new people and make them come into the community. And the old community is a bit skeptic. Oh, all those new people again. Now we have to explain the whole thing again. This is not a game. So, but the community is growing from story to story, and there's a development. Okay, back to the fan term. Yeah, Coca-Cola, as I heard, is the largest fan base on Facebook. I guess it's more than 40 million. And why are fans so important? Fans belong among the first buyers. That's why fans are very interesting for companies. They are less price sensitive. They forgive errors. They defend a company if the shitstorm, for example, is happening again. And they start, of course, the word of mouth process. There's also an economic reason why fans are very interesting. There was a study published in the Harvard Business Review in 2004, and they looked at different numbers in a company. That companies collect a lot of data, even I do, to predict where are we heading, and are we about to grow, for example. And this study shows that there's only one relevant number which is important, and this is the recommendation rate. That is interesting because if there's a direct correlation between the recommendation rate and the growth of a company. So if there's a chance for companies to ask their customers, how likely are you to recommend our product or a company? And the answer is on a scale from 0 to 10, 8 or 9 or 10. So this is a sign that that a company is about to grow. And who is recommending? Of course, the fans. So this is a direct correlation. But for me, the decisive question is, what is a fan anyway? And I want I always address to Kevin Kelly, founder of Wired magazine, and he gives a definition which I like. A true fan is defined as someone who will purchase anything and everything you produce. They will drive 200 miles to see you sing. They will buy the Super Deluxe reissued high-res box set of your stuff, and even though they have the low-res version, they have a Google alert set for your name. They bookmark the eBay page where your out-of-print editions show up. They come to your openings. They have you sign the copies. They buy the T-shirt, the mug, and the hat. They can't wait till you issue your next work. They are true fans. So there's a big difference between a Coca-Cola fan who just clicks like and a true fan. And Kevin Kelly argues that if you're an author, for example, you only need 1,000 true fans to make a living. As an author or as a pop star, not a pop star, as a band, you should rather focus on the relations to your truest fans than focusing on producing a big bestseller, because it's like a win in the lottery. And this I find very interesting in the context of what I'm doing and for viral marketing. I'm saying true fans are not lemmings that click on like. True fans are what Kevin Kelly says. And this is what we try to achieve when we conduct these alternate reality games, for example. So how can you turn a customer into a fan? I will in the last part of my speech, I will concentrate on the first step: identify, seek out the right networks and influentials. But there are, I will shortly address the other steps. In the second step, is involve, spread a message that is worth talking about. Think of the pizza in that step. Third thing is connect, become a part of the network yourself, and enable exchange among customers. This is what happens, for example, in an alternate reality game, where around a story the community is being formed, and the author and the publishing house is part of this story. Fourth step, collaborate, let customers participate. Again, during an alternate reality game, this happens naturally because a lot of content is produced by the people who join a game. They take photos, they make video clips and post it online. All this makes the story in the end. Navigate, respond to feedback and react to it with sensitivity. Again, with an alternate reality game, it's very interesting because when we plan a story, only 30% in advance is being planned. There's not like a storyboard for every day that happens. The interesting thing, what people find interesting, for example, about an alternate reality game, is that they are part of the story and that they can influence what is happening. So as a producer, as a puppet master, we have to hear what people say in order to make the story even more involving the next day. And this is what it meant, what means navigation. And sustain is what happens after the last day of the alternate reality game, after the book is being published. This is where most companies fail who try to do viral marketing, because they are no more interested in the customer, in their fan base. And this is very disappointing for fans. That's why we always recommend, think of, if you do a campaign for a year, already think of the life beyond the campaign. How are you talking to your fans, and what values can you create after such a big experience? As I said, in the end of my speech, I want to show you three more examples. A first example, I was working together with Jürgen Pfeffer. Was like 6 years ago.
No, this was not our work.
Facebook. No, unfortunately not. There are three methods of identification of influentials that we use. The social network analysis. A second method is the so-called self-designation. And the third strategy is the key informants strategy. I start with a social network analysis we did for a company called Fisher. I don't know whether you're familiar with this company. They are market leader in one field worldwide. It's bonds. You know the term bonds? If you at home, if you put a picture to the wall, you need to you have to put something into the wall before you put the
Yeah, I would probably call that a picture hanger.
a picture hanger. Okay, they're a market leader worldwide with picture hangers. But they not only produce picture hangers on a professional level, they produce so-called high bonds. You use this, for example, to build these skyscrapers that steel fits together in a way. And we had a really interesting task. They were addressing us and asked for help to sell these high bonds.
To sell this sexy product.
Sexy product, really sexy product, on the South Asian market. And Fisher, the people told us at Fisher are not very famous there. They are not. There are other companies, and we should, in the first place, explore the network, find out who is an opinion leader, who can Fisher address to get into the market. And with the help of Jürgen, we could figure out the so-called fixing network, the network of influence, which helped us to find out who are the most important players on the South Asian market. And people at Fisher were very surprised because people showed up in the network analysis that they hadn't on their radar. There was the most centralized guy was a German. He was called the High Bond Pope. But as I said, we were rather interested in markets like Japan, China, and they found it really helpful what we delivered them. This is one very important guy in Japan, Mr. Matsuzaki, who is an expert with earthquake research, which is obviously important. So the purpose of all this was, first of all, to have transparency, who are the interesting people, and the second step, people should be addressed. And we recommended Fisher, on the basis of the social network analysis, not to call them, "Hi, it's us, we will be in Japan soon," but to do it a bit more polite and indirectly. And so we recommended a blog. It was one of the first corporate blogs that was being published in the year 2006 in Germany, and we recommended writing articles about the work, about the study of Mr. Matsuzaki, for example, linking to him, and then afterwards addressing him and send him an email. Look, we appreciate what you do, and doing this networking stuff. And that was one example. It really worked fine for Fisher. They started blogging, and they had a really solid base with this social network analysis, who to address, and they had a really safe decision-making process. One second example, as I said, the identification method is self-designation, which means the influentials say, "Hello, I'm here, please address me." And without saying too much, I show you another clip.
Wie bringt man ein Jugendbuch ins Gespräch, dessen Autoren niemand kennt und in dem keine Vampire vorkommen? Der Carlsen Verlag wagt ein transmediales Experiment. Ein Alternate Reality Game. Lindau am Bodensee, Anfang Februar 2010. Die 16-jährige Schülerin Linda erhält seltsame Post.
Analysebericht Befund der Versuchsreise des Probanden Matthias Reifenstein.
Im Internet entdeckt sie ein Forum, in dem sich weitere Aktenempfänger zusammengeschlossen haben. Die Analyseberichte aus den 1970er Jahren schildern Fälle von paranormal begabten Kindern. Verschlüsselte Hinweise in den Akten führen zu einer Internetseite, auf der ein Film zu sehen ist, aufgenommen im Jahr 1974. Das Spiel hat begonnen. Linda und ihre Freunde sind in ein Alternate Reality Game hineingeraten. Ein Spiel, das eine Geschichte erzählt. Diese Geschichte spielt dort, wo die Zielgruppe heute zu finden ist. Im Internet, auf Websites, in Foren und auf Facebook. Der Held der Geschichte ist Jan, ein 17-jähriger Schüler aus Hamburg, ausgestattet mit hellseherischen Fähigkeiten. Jan sieht eine Katastrophe voraus, die sich am 8.12. irgendwo auf der Welt zutragen soll. Kann Jan den Lauf der Dinge stoppen? Die ARG-Community tritt mit Jan in Kontakt, virtuell und real, um ihn bei seiner Mission zu unterstützen.
Ich glaube, es wäre ganz gut, wenn wir noch mal so ein bisschen reden würden, was jetzt eigentlich der Stand ist. Ich komme gar nicht so richtig hinterher.
Gejagt wird ein mysteriöser Fremder, der im Verdacht steht, mehr zu wissen. Im Haus des Fremden finden die Gefährten Hinweise, die sie der Lösung des Rätsels näher bringen. Nach 4 spannenden Wochen kommt es zum Showdown auf einem Frachtschiff im Hamburger Hafen. Das Alternate Reality Game ist zu Ende, aber die Erfolgsgeschichte von Numbers hat gerade erst begonnen.
Okay, this is one of our latest productions, and as you see, the production level has increased a bit ever since the Push 11 story we did 5 years ago. I guess you are all familiar with alternate reality games, as you already said, but compared to Push 11, was your question, did people where we fear it is all real? We have like a meta community for alternate reality games. That's why I brought my companion, the White Rabbit. People can apply to be part of such a game. They receive like a passport, and they can give away their data to. They opt in to be part of this game community, so that we can really directly address them in a surprising way. This is the self-designation I was talking about. Then from like our data set, we can evaluate who is for one topic maybe more influential than in other areas. We can figure out where what are they interested in. This is what we learn from the questionnaire here. We can also figure out which social networks they join, and this helps us to organize the viral spread during an alternate reality game. Just to give you the results here, the expectation of the publishing house was to sell 20,000 copies. We sold 60,000, again with no additional advertising. It really shows how powerful these alternate reality games are for books. It works really well together, these games and books and novels. Okay, thanks very much.